Move on to Legislative District 32, Position 2A. First up, Representative Lauren Davis.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks so much for the opportunity to speak this evening, and thanks so much for all the folks who volunteered many hours to put this on. My professional background is in behavioral health, which is an umbrella term that encompasses both mental health and addiction recovery. And behavioral health is consequently also the focus of my legislative work. But when I say I center my legislative work around behavioral health, that actually means that I am touching a number of other policy areas. So one is healthcare. If we think about healthcare costs, turns out that actually 20% of our folks on Medicaid end up accounting for 80% of Medicaid costs. And a lot of those costs are driven by individuals with undertreated mental health and substance use challenges who are high utilizers of emergency services. Behavioral health also touches the criminal legal system, both the adult correction system and the juvenile justice system. The vast majority of people who we incarcerate are people living with treatable behavioral health challenges. Behavioral health also touches the child welfare system. There's been a significant increase in young people entering into foster care, primarily driven by the opioid epidemic, and an increase in infants in Washington state born with neonatal abstinence syndrome. Additionally, behavioral health is at the root very much of chronic homelessness and chronic and persistent homelessness, but also young people experiencing homelessness. There was a report done that the majority of young people experiencing homelessness who had exited a state facility in the prior year were discharged from a behavioral health facility of some kind. Behavioral health is also centered in police reform. When we think about the types of law enforcement calls that we do not want law enforcement responding to, it's among others, it's individuals experiencing a behavioral health crisis of some kind who need help and not handcuffs. It's also at the root of public safety. When we think about the part of Edmonds that is in the 32nd is the part along Aurora. And when we think about property crime, not all, but much of it perpetuated by people who are in active addiction, who, if only afforded opportunity for treatment and recovery, would have incredibly meaningful lives and certainly not be engaged in crime. Also touches education. An increasing number of young people have special education accommodations because of a mental health challenge. 1 in 5 of the young people in our state have a diagnosable mental health condition. We have seen increases in suicidality and psychiatric hospitalizations among school-age children. And when we think about student discipline, substance-related violations are at the core of so much of that. And finally, in response to COVID, we are unfortunately projected to see huge increases in need for mental health and addiction services, up to 3 million people, almost half of our state, meeting clinical indicators for behavioral health need in the coming year. I'm just finishing my first year in the legislature, and Prime sponsored 9 bills that were signed into law. But I'll just mention 2 things that I'm the most proud of. One,
I'm sorry, your time's up.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Representative Davis. We also have Tamara Similaknik, who is running for this position as well, but did not respond to our invite.